everyone, Kyle Lewis here from the Worship Keyboard Tutorial YouTube channel, giving you tips and tricks to help you with your worship keyboard ministry. This is a follow-up video to the arrangement that I did of At the Cross, and I recorded that in a previous video, and I'll put a link to that at the end of this in case you didn't get to see that. We're going to deal with one of the concepts in that video, which is the minor 4 chord. What is it, and how do we use it? But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell so that you can be aware of future videos. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. All right, if you're ready, let's get started. So instead of trying to inundate you with all the concepts that I talked about in the previous video, we're going to put these into little bite-sized videos, starting with this one, the minor 4 chord. So what is a minor 4 chord? A minor 4 chord is technically what we call a borrowed chord. Now, I'm not going to take the time in this video to explain what all of that is, but if you do a Google search of borrowed chords, you'll get a whole big education of what those are. So the short answer is that a minor 4 chord, in the context that we're playing it in, is a 4 chord in a major key that has been altered to become minor. So for instance, if I'm in the key of C, and I have an F chord, which is the 4 chord, I'm going to alter that chord to become minor. So here's the example that I played in the song At the Cross. We had the intro. Now I went to a regular major 4 chord, and then I went to the minor 4 chord. Then back to here. So that's a real common way to use it, would be like an intro, and maybe you're going from the 1 chord to a 4 chord. Now you could go directly to the minor 4 chord. I was trying to think of some worship songs that use these minor 4 chords, and one that came to mind was a song called This Kingdom by Hillsong. It's an older song, but that intro is that exact same thing. It's a 1 chord that goes to this minor 4 chord. Give a listen. Jesus. Now there's another song that uses this minor 4 chord, and it's more current song. It's called What Mercy Did for Me. Oh, now I'm living like I'm forgiven. You came and set me free. That's what your mercy did for me. Now, a song that most people know is the intro for Billy Joel's song, Just the Way You Are. Don't go changing. So oftentimes when I have seen this minor 4 chord played, they add the 6th degree, and I added the 6th degree when I did this arrangement. So that 6th degree of the chord in this case is that F natural, okay? So I have my triad, A flat, B or C flat, E flat, and now I add the 6th degree, which is going to be that F. It just adds a little bit of color. You don't have to play it, but it just adds a nice little color that's there a lot of times when we hear that. We heard it in the Billy Joel song, and you'll probably hear it in other songs as well. Notice in the bass that I'm sometimes just hanging on that root of the 1 chord as I go to that 4 chord. That's a real common way to play that. Another thing that I do later on in the song is I go to the 3rd of the chord, which in this case would be a B natural, or you could technically call that a C flat. So that in the song is going to be, it was there by faith I received my sight. So there I stepped up to the 3rd in the bass with that minor 6 chord. So now application. Now that we know what a minor 4 chord is, how do we use it? Well, one way is as I just did in the intro. You can do an intro, even if the intro in the song doesn't call for a minor 4 chord, you could maybe throw it in. You could just kind of play behind a pastor as they're talking or praying, or maybe transition between communion, offering. You could take another song that has an intro, like Living Hope. Now that's the basic intro, it goes from the 1 to the 4, but you could throw that minor 4 chord in there. How great the chasm, and then you're into the song. Now, one thing to take into consideration is that if you're doing the minor 4 chord, if you're in a band situation, everybody has to do the minor 4 chord, because you can't play a minor chord against their major chord. It's just not going to sound good. Now, if you hear that in music, whether it's sacred music or even secular music, I'd love to hear in the comments below the songs that you find that have those minor 4 chords. Well, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.